Did you know that most men don't break when they're angry? They break when they're quiet. That's the moment it happens, not during the argument, not after the betrayal, but somewhere in between. When a man realizes that no one is listening anymore, he stops fighting for connection. He stops explaining himself. He stops hoping that anyone will see how much he's bleeding beneath his calm. That's the beginning of silence. Not the silence you can hear, but the one that builds inside his chest, slowly, quietly, like fog that never leaves. Once upon a time, he cared too much. He wrote long messages that went unread. He waited for calls that never came. He gave love in full measure to people who only took what was convenient. He tried to be the man who understands, the one who listens, the one who holds everything together when it's falling apart. But no one ever asked what it cost him. No one noticed how heavy it got. They told him to be strong, to stop overthinking, to just move on. So he did. At first, it was a defense. Then it became a habit. And eventually, it became who he was. The man who used to talk stopped. The man who used to love deeply withdrew. The man who used to hope vanished. Now, he wears calmness like armor. He smiles when he's breaking. He laughs when he feels nothing. He says, "I'm good," because no one wants the truth anymore. But inside, he knows what really happened. He didn't stop believing in love. Love stopped believing in him. It stopped rewarding his honesty. It stopped nurturing his effort, stopped making him feel safe. And so he fell silent, not out of hatred, but out of exhaustion. Because there's only so many times a man can reach out and touch nothing before his heart goes numb. This is the birth of the masculine void. Not fire, not rage, but quiet emptiness. The sound of a man who once wanted to be loved, finally realizing he's easier to keep when he feels nothing at all. Section 2. The Weight of Rejection. Every man remembers the moment he stopped trying. The slow collapse. It wasn't dramatic. No slammed doors, no angry outburst, just a quiet realization that no matter how much he gave, it would never be enough. That's the cruel thing about rejection. It doesn't always come with words. Sometimes it arrives in silence, in the way her eyes stop, lighting up when he enters the room, in the way her voice turns colder, shorter, like he's a stranger in his own story. At first, he tries to fix it. He buys her flowers. He apologizes for things he didn't do. He waits for the old version of her to come back, but she doesn't. And so, he begins to shrink. Each unanswered text feels heavier. Each half-hearted kiss becomes a reminder of what's already gone. And the man who once believed he could make love work starts to disappear. Because rejection isn't just about being left. It's about being unseen while you're still there. It's eating dinner across from someone who stopped wanting to understand you months ago. It's lying next to a body that doesn't reach for yours anymore. Men don't talk about this kind of pain. They don't have spaces for it. When they try, they're called weak, needy, emotional. So they swallow it. They carry it. They make it look easy. But inside, the cracks deepen until one day he looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize who's staring back. He's not angry anymore. He's empty. That's the part no one sees. How rejection doesn't break him in one moment. It erodes him slowly. Every dismissive sigh, every time he feels like a burden, every time he realizes his love has become inconvenient, So he stops trying. He stops reaching out. He stops showing up. Not because he stopped caring, but because caring hurts more than being alone. And that's when the masculine void deepens. When he realizes that love isn't safe, that emotion isn't valued, and that his silence is the only thing the world can't use against him. He doesn't hate love. He just stopped believing that it was ever meant for men like him. There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from loss. It comes from staying, from showing up day after day, pretending everything still means something when deep down it doesn't. That's what happens when men give up on love. They don't leave right away. They stay long after they should have walked. They play their part, say the right things, do what's expected. But something inside them is gone. Love used to be purpose. It used to be meaning. It used to make the long days bearable, the hard nights softer. Now it just feels like another task to manage, another area where they're falling short. He remembers when love felt real, when words mattered, when she looked at him like he was the only person in the room. But over time, the meaning began to rot. The laughter became small talk. The passion turned into routine. The warmth became obligation. He tried to fix it. Every man does. He told himself, maybe it's just a phase. Maybe she'll see me again. But the truth is, once love loses its meaning, it rarely comes back. Because meaning doesn't disappear overnight. It fades one compromise at a time. When he starts pretending he's not hurt, when she stops asking, what's wrong? When both of them get too comfortable with being emotionally absent, that's how love dies. Quietly, through small acts of indifference. And when a man realizes that love no longer means what it used to, he starts to detach, not just from her, but from the entire idea of love itself. He starts seeing affection as currency, something to be earned, managed, or rationed. He becomes logical about something that was once spiritual. And once love becomes logic, it stops being life. He no longer dreams about building something. He focuses on surviving what's left. The man who once found meaning in connection now finds it in isolation, because at least solitude doesn't lie to him. That's the collapse of meaning, not because love stopped existing, but because it stopped being worth the pain it always seems to bring. Section 4. The Emotional Exile. When men stop believing in love, they don't disappear overnight. They drift away slowly, silently, until one day, they're gone. Not from the world, but from everything that once made them feel alive. This is the emotional exile. It doesn't look like pain, it looks like peace. He still goes to work. He still meets friends. He still smiles when someone jokes. But it's all surface now. A quiet performance, held together by habit. Because deep down, he's not really there. He's existing, not living. He's surviving the noise by avoiding it completely. He used to crave closeness. Now he avoids it. He used to want to be understood. Now, he hides what he feels, so no one can misunderstand him again. He tells himself that solitude is strength, that peace is better than passion, that love is a luxury he can't afford anymore. But the truth is, he's not strong. He's tired. He's not at peace. He's numb. And every night, in the quiet of his own mind, he wonders when peace started to feel so lonely. He's become comfortable in exile. There's no rejection here, no disappointment, no risk, just stillness, a silence that feels safer than connection. He fills his time with distractions: work, gym, hobbies, screens, not because he enjoys them, but because they keep him from thinking about what's missing. He avoids eye contact with love itself. Songs that used to mean something now make him change the station. Movies about romance make him roll his eyes, not because he doesn't feel it, but because he feels it too much. He tells people he's fine. He says he likes being alone, and part of him even believes it. But deep inside, beneath all that quiet, is a truth he can't admit. He doesn't hate love. He just doesn't trust it anymore. So he builds walls that no one even tries to climb. And behind them, he waits, not for someone to break through, but for the part of himself that still remembers what it felt like to be seen. That's the emotional exile, the safest prison a man will ever build for himself. Section 5. The feminine ghost, even when she's gone, she never really leaves. Not her, not the idea of her, not the memory of what it felt like when love still meant something. Every man who's given up on love carries a ghost, a quiet, invisible presence that lingers long after the woman has disappeared. She's in his playlists, in the scent that still clings to an old shirt, in the way certain words still stop him cold. He doesn't talk about her anymore. He tells people he's moved on. He says he's over it. But deep down, she's still there, not as a person, but as a feeling. She exists in the corners of his silence, in the way he hesitates before trusting someone new, in the way he stiffens when someone touches him like she used to. Because the feminine ghost isn't her. It's what she awakened in him. It's the warmth, the softness, the vulnerability he allowed himself to feel and lost. And once that part of him dies, something inside him stays cold forever. He can sleep with other women, laugh with friends, even fall into temporary affection, but it never feels the same. The connection is mechanical. The emotions are muted because every woman after her is standing in the shadow of the ghost she left behind. She doesn't haunt him out of malice. She haunts him because he still believes in what she once made him feel. And that's the cruel irony. He gave up on love because it hurt too much, yet love is the one thing he can't stop remembering. He dreams about her, sometimes not in the way lovers dream, but in fragments, moments, the sound of her laugh in a place she's never been, the echo of her voice in his head when he's most alone. He doesn't want her back, not really. He just wants the version of himself that existed when she loved him, the man who still believed in forever. But that man is gone, buried beneath logic and scars. All that remains is the echo, the feminine ghost, the reminder of what love once felt like before he learned it could destroy him. Section 6. The numb years. There comes a point when a man stops hurting, but not because he's healed. He stops hurting because there's nothing left to feel. These are the numb years. The years when he doesn't cry anymore, doesn't hope anymore, doesn't even get angry anymore. He just exists. Every day feels the same. Wake up, work, repeat. No expectations, no disappointments. Just a long, quiet stretch of days that all blur into one another. He doesn't crave chaos anymore. He doesn't chase affection. He doesn't even fantasize about connection. He used to think numbness was strength. Now he knows it's just absence, a space where his heart used to live. He can spend hours in silence and call it peace. But deep down, he knows it's just distance. Distance from everyone. Distance from himself. Friends tell him he's doing great. They see his discipline, his focus, his calm. What they don't see is the emptiness beneath it. The mechanical routine that keeps him moving, but never living. He used to feel alive when someone touched his hand. Now, he barely notices. He used to write messages that came from the heart. Now his replies are short, polite, robotic. He doesn't feel the highs anymore, but he's grateful. He doesn't feel the lows either. That's what safety looks like when you've been broken too many times. He's mastered the art of pretending he's fine. He jokes, he works, he smiles. But every night, when the noise fades and the room goes quiet, he feels that faint ache, the one he buried years ago. It's not pain anymore, it's memory, the echo of who he was before he taught himself not to care. The numb years aren't loud. They don't announce themselves. They slip in slowly until emotion becomes a distant language he no longer speaks. And maybe that's the saddest part. He doesn't even want to feel again, because feeling means risking pain, and pain means remembering love. So he stays numb, a man with a steady pulse, a working mind, and a heart that forgot how to beat for anything but survival. Section 7. The modern masculine wound. The modern man is bleeding, but he's been taught to hide the wound. From the moment he's old enough to cry, someone tells him not to. Boys don't cry. Man up. Be strong. And so he learns early that his feelings are dangerous. That softness is shameful. That love is something you give, not something you're allowed to need. He grows up believing strength means silence, that real men endure pain quietly. That vulnerability is a weakness the world will use against him. So he builds a shell, and every disappointment, every heartbreak, every moment of rejection adds another layer of armor. Eventually, no one can hurt him, but no one can reach him either. That's the modern masculine wound. Not that men feel too little, but that they've been punished for feeling at all. He watches how the world treats emotion in men. If he's angry, he's toxic. If he's sad, he's broken. If he's distant, he's cold. If he opens up, he's weak. No matter what he does, he's told he's the problem. So he stops trying to explain himself. He stops asking for help. He stops showing what's real. And the wound festers quietly. You see it in the man who works himself into the ground just to feel useful. You see it in the man who sleeps beside someone but still feels utterly alone. You see it in the man who can't cry at funerals anymore because he's forgotten how. He laughs when he should grieve. He nods when he wants to scream. He says, "I'm fine," because that's what he's been trained to say. But inside, the truth never changes. He's tired of being everyone's rock when no one has ever been his. He doesn't want to be invincible. He just wants to be understood. Yet the world doesn't give men that luxury, so they retreat deeper into silence, further from emotion, until strength becomes loneliness, and masculinity becomes a wound that never stops bleeding, just quietly beneath the surface, where no one can see it. Section 8. The return of loneliness. He thought loneliness was something he could outgrow, that if he worked hard enough, distracted himself enough, or stopped caring altogether, he could finally escape it. But loneliness isn't something you escape. It's something that waits. It's patient. It hides in the background while you build your new life. And then it returns when the noise fades. At first, he doesn't recognize it. It creeps in quietly, in the long drives home at night, in the empty glow of his phone screen, in the silence that follows every meaningless conversation. He told himself he didn't need love anymore, that he was better off without it, that solitude meant freedom. And for a while, he believed it. No heartbreak, no expectation, no pain, just peace. But peace without connection is a kind of death. It's not calm, it's emptiness. It's the sound of nothing, and the feeling that no one would notice if you disappeared. He has everything now, a stable life, a routine, even a smile that convinces most people. He's fine. But when he comes home to an empty room, he feels that quiet ache, the kind that doesn't scream, but hums softly, reminding him that something is missing. He tries to ignore it. He stays busy. He keeps conversation shallow. But late at night, when the world goes still, it hits him again. That human truth he's been running from. We were never meant to do this alone. The world told him independence was strength, but they never said what happens after you master it. They never warned him that being self-sufficient also means no one will check if you're okay. He doesn't crave romance anymore. He just craves warmth. A voice that feels like home, a silence that feels shared. But when you've built your entire identity on not needing anyone, how do you let someone in again? That's the paradox of the masculine void. The longer he lives in peace, the more he realizes it's just loneliness in disguise. And it always returns, softer, deeper, not as pain, but as the gentle reminder that even strength feels hollow when no one's there to witness it. Section 9. The Reckoning of the Heart at the end of it all. There's a moment when the silence becomes too loud, when even the numbness stops working, when a man who spent years trying not to feel finally realizes that he's still human. He doesn't break down dramatically. He doesn't beg or cry or call anyone. He just feels it. That small, aching truth he's been avoiding for years. He never stopped wanting to be loved. That's the reckoning of the heart. After all the bitterness fades, after the anger burns out, after the pride no longer shields him, what's left is something simple. A quiet, almost childlike desire to be seen again. He thought giving up on love would make him stronger, that being alone would make him free. But solitude has its own kind of hunger. It strips him down until he can finally hear what's underneath. The soft, tired voice of the boy he used to be, the one who still believes in connection, the one who still hopes someone will look at him and stay. He realizes something he never did before. He didn't lose his capacity to love. He just buried it. He mistook protection for healing, isolation for peace, strength for silence, and now he stands in the ruins of everything he built to protect himself. Walls, distance, pride, and realizes none of it made him safer. It just made him invisible. So he does the hardest thing a man can do. He lets his guard down, not for someone else, but for himself. He allows himself to feel again, to remember, to admit that he still needs softness, that love wasn't his weakness, it was his oxygen. And maybe that's the redemption, not in finding someone new, but in finding himself again. The version that existed before the pain, before the walls, before the silence. Because the truth is, men don't stop loving. They just grow quiet. They learn to hide it. They wait for the world to give them permission to feel again. But love doesn't wait for permission. It just waits for courage. And when he finally has the courage to listen to his own heart again, that's when the void ends, not with noise, but with peace.